Hi again, Thomas Morgan here. In fact, this might be the first time I'm saying hello. Just catching up with some of the top issues that have been mentioned during the election campaign. Um, Obviously, everybody is basically saying the same thing, so I'm probably going to repeat some of the other ideas people have got in the election and other candidates, but still worth giving you my view on them, and there might be some added bits that are interesting to consider. So the top priority, believe it or not, right at the moment, no, it's not really, but anyway, just getting it out of the way, is the City to Sea Bridge. I've already said that I quite like the bridge. I think it's quite useful, quite a pleasant place, quite a useful asset, and well worth keeping if it's safe to have it. That's the only critical thing, I think. If it's not dangerous and the revision of the earthquake standards sort of suggests that it's okay, then obviously we keep it. There has been some discussion that there's some underhand tactics going on, that the idea is to get rid of the bridge to allow double-decker buses to go along the waterfront. And if that really is the case, then why not just say so, and then that can be discussed as a possible consideration. But anyway, that's the view on the bridge, my view for now. The rates issue is a huge one, of course. People are getting stung with rates rises all over the country. Wellington is not the best one, is pretty bad. Um, what to do is a problem. The quickest answer and easiest one is to spread the load of all of the infrastructure upgrades needed, and that would mean borrowing money and further debt, and spreading the load over the next 20 to 30 years, perhaps. Possibly a good idea, because at the end of the day, the cost is just remarkable. So it's going to take some time to pay for things. And in fact, it's going to take a bit of time to even do the work, but that's another issue. Another possibility is to have more income for the council through other business activities. Currently, probably not allowed through legislation at the moment, so some change would be needed there. That would allow the council to go out to the market with products and services that generate income. How much income is another question, and the cost benefit and all that sort of thing has to be sorted out. And of course, the ideas would need to come from somewhere, probably within the council. Another option too is bonds, Wellington bonds. People could invest in Wellington, pay into projects that would have to generate funds or some sort of income, and then the bonds would be paid out back with interest to the people that invested in them. It's been done overseas apparently and does work. Not too sure how it works in actual fact, but it's a theory and an idea that could be looked into. It's another big part of the puzzle, the rates problem, and it's been left dormant for too long, and it doesn't get votes, and nobody in the past has really stood up and said pay more rates. It doesn't get many votes, so the idea of that has been the problem primarily just because it's not something people like to spend money on. The catch is, of course, you get all sorts of things as part of the deal: subsidised leisure services, roading, footpaths, all of your three waters taken care of for the moment, and various other things that we all take for granted. So unfortunately, the rates are part of the deal. So there we go. The next thing is transport. Transport is a bit of a hot topic. It's actually really quite good at the moment, and I'm a little bit puzzled about why people keep on grizzling, but it is not too bad. Peak traffic flows are not that great, and some work needs to be done there with different systems. I'm a systems fan, and as you will notice, I have put all my eggs in one basket and suggested that bus shelters are the thing. And oddly enough, they are in a way, because they will contribute to getting people on buses in bad weather when it's horrid. No one wants to stand around and wait for a bus, and likewise in extreme heat or even wind for that matter. All of those things will be catered for, I should say, to some extent, with bus shelters on every bus stop. There is an argument for not having bus shelters on some of the end-of-run stops where people are simply getting off the bus, so maybe a little bit of qualification there, but even still, why not? Just useful idea, I think. So that's the transport one. Actually, no, it's not. The tunnels. There are tunnels already through Mount Victoria, through the eastern suburbs. There's one for buses and there's one for cars and other traffic. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I have a vague idea that perhaps the bus tunnel can be repurposed to cater for traffic, and then that would allow for one-way traffic flow during peak times in and out of the city for the eastern suburb people. It will be a bit complicated because it means rearranging a few roads and putting in some extra traffic lights and directing traffic, and during transitional times everything stops for a few minutes while the traffic flow is reorganised in a way that doesn't create too much confusion, or in fact can't create confusion at all. So it's got to be very well sorted out, but it wouldn't be too hard. It's not rocket science. And that would allow one-way traffic through the Mount Vic Tunnel itself, and then in the other direction, one lane of traffic would be able to get through the bus tunnel. Right now I'm asking the council officers for advice about the bus tunnel use, because I'm not exactly sure if it's fit for purpose for that sort of thing or not. So that's one proviso, but it might be a good intermediate step. It seems likely that the second tunnel or something like it will happen eventually, but like Transmission Gully, it could take another 50 years. So who knows? So anything to help at the moment is better than nothing. And speaking of that too, I've just been asking the ferry operator if they would like to run a ferry service from the city to the airport with a shuttle bus at Evans Bay to take people to the airport. Apparently they're very keen on the idea, but getting it over the line with the regional council has been a problem. If the business case stacks up, of course, then why not do it? And perhaps the city council can actually fund it as an internal service. It would have to be subsidised to make it attractive, but then again it's providing a pretty safe route that gets to the destination on time, hopefully. I'm obviously always putting things in a fairly vague context just to make sure I don't put all my eggs in one basket any further, but certainly worth looking into, and apparently a feasibility study has been done with the ferry companies, so they do know that it's a possible idea. Water I've mentioned earlier before. Three Waters got scrapped. There's now a new water entity. It looks a little bit unusual because Wellington is one of quite a few partners in the water process, infrastructure and maintenance and delivery and all that sort of thing, but Wellington only gets one vote. I'm not sure if that's fairly equitable, but maybe it will change. I don't know. But, it's a whole new ball game. How it works, I'm not too sure. Meters seem to be on the way. What happens with apartments is another question, and how it all works is yet to be decided, or at least I haven't discovered it. There is an interesting benefit in that process as well, in that the costs for the council actually do drop significantly because it doesn't have to pay for the water projects itself, the water system, but then again the ratepayers do end up paying for it independently, so it's not exactly a win for the ratepayers. It's just more of a shifting of the chairs around the table, if you like. So water is a problem. The leaks are a problem. The leaks should have been addressed years and years ago, 100 years ago, well, at least 50. So Integration is needed with services and maintenance. Apparently, there's quite a lot of double um, double work happening where roading is fixed and then dug up again to fix pipes and that sort of thing. The whole thing needs to be systematically sorted out so that the pipes obviously are fixed first and then the road on top. So pretty simple, but coordinating that seems to not be happening too well at the moment from what I've heard. The next problem, homelessness. This is a huge problem, but actually quite small, of course, because there aren't too many people that are homeless, but the impact on the community is fairly significant. What to do is very complicated because you're dealing with a whole raft of problems at the same time, including human rights. And at the very absurd extreme, you could say that somebody sitting on a park bench in the botanical gardens is suddenly homeless, which of course is crazy. But that's the sort of problem you get when you've got to try and assist people to not be a nuisance in public spaces. Of course, that then just now, I think, generates another possibility of literally creating a law of nuisance, which there might actually be, but at the end of the day, you want to actually do something useful and have people looked after. So because of the complexity of it, I really do think it's probably a central government issue because the process requires all sorts of interventions and assistance that's well beyond the council's scope of activity. And already there's been discussion about having other agencies involved in collaboration and that sort of thing, which is all very good. But at the end of the day, central government would be in a better place to probably do that and have more funding available to assist with more significant projects than the council can really get involved in because of the sheer complexity of it with housing, mental health, general health, money, welfare, activities, things for people to do, and all that sort of thing is sort of kind of all part of the deal. And there's been comments that the new library will be helpful because the homeless people can go to the library, which probably is not a bad idea. But there are libraries already, and I don't know if they're all going to the library because they seem to like to spend their time on the street. Anyway, I won't get into all of that any further, but as you can see, it's a bit of a tough problem, but a small one too. And lastly, housing. How to deal with housing is a problem as well. It's getting expensive. The council's involvement in housing is not that great, other than, of course, rates and permitting and consenting and all that sort of thing. So there must be ways of helping there with speeding things up and making things a bit cheaper, because I can't really see the point of making it too hard. It's four walls and a roof, to be blunt and simple about it. But anyway, one thought I had additionally, which I've probably mentioned before, is the idea of encouraging empty nesters to vacate their properties and make them available for young families. It's a huge, huge ask. So obviously people have got to want to do it, and perhaps some encouragement, incentive or assistance can, can be provided to help with that process. And that idea, it's an interesting one because, of course, people's homes are their heritage as well, and it's quite a reluctant thing quite often for people want to leave. But if they are happy to leave and have got some barriers to doing that, then perhaps the council can provide some incentives, or central government for that matter. So there we go, 14 minutes, which is about the length of a cup of coffee. So I shall end now. Thomas Morgan here, standing for the Eastern Ward in the Wellington City Council elections in 2025. Very happy to hear from you if you'd like to leave some comments on the Facebook page. I've got a phone number which I just can't recall right now, also on the Facebook page. And there is an email address also on the Facebook page, which I think is Thomas Morgan for wcc@gmail.com. But do check that out on the Facebook page. Nothing like being certain about what you're doing and getting good advice and good information. So there we go. I'm standing on the ticket of common sense and 30 years of history in looking at council operations and helping other people and organisations, businesses become successful or stop them from going broke too occasionally. So there we go. I shall stop now, but thanks for your time and have a nice day or evening. Cheers.